Welcome everybody, this is Glenn, and I am here with a add-on to a recent blog post that I did where I was talking about how to learn how to draw. In that post, I was talking about a little project to start learning to draw, and that was to learn to draw the eye. And I did the classic mistake, if you ask me, what most sketchbook or learn to draw books do, and that's give you step 1, 2, 3, and basically 30. And I did the same thing, and I was like, this is horrible, but also drawing all the steps in between that is going to be really challenging to sort of portray to someone trying to learn to draw. So I am much better at doing videos and just giving people that chance to look at them and sort of follow along with me as they do it. So here is the video that goes along with that blog post. I am using only a number 2 Ticonderoga pencil. I find that most people have these, and if not, they're really easy to get and they're super cheap. So if you want to get into drawing but you're not 100% sure how to do it, what you want to do with it, this is a great way to start. So next up, we'll start to see the process of drawing and getting into that. So here we are with the beginning of the drawing. We're starting off with this big circle. That's just the eyeball in general. And then we have the cornea and the iris on the inside. In this area, the next thing we're going to be starting to work on is the eyelid shape. And we basically just start off with this oblong rhombus shape. And starting off with relatively straight lines and light straight lines at that, let us sort of block in the area that we're going to be working on. It's a lot easier to do a light straight line than it is to do a light curved line. So having those marks in there makes it a lot easier to just get your idea in before you start to really bear down on the pencil, add a little bit of weight into it, and get the marks to stick on the page. You can erase, of course, but one thing you really want to focus on and try to mitigate is making a bunch of heavy lines and trying to erase those. Because once you add a lot of graphite to the page, regardless of how much you erase, you're not going to be able to get the brightness of the page before it had those marks on it back. So, see right there, you can see it. The pencil did leave a mark behind. So, in that area, does it matter? No, because that area is going to be covered in shadow anyway. But in an area that you're using as a highlight, that is going to become a problem. And you want to make sure that you don't give yourself too many of those areas to work around. So, something in the eye that I was doing is adding those highlights, and see how I did that circle right around there? That means that area is not getting touched anymore. So moving back into the eye, eyelids tend to be pretty thick, and we want to give um, that heaviness to them. Right now, you start to see me going a little bit darker, a little bit quicker. This is mostly just me knowing that these lines are relatively close to the right spot and I'm not going to have to move them, and also that those areas are really dark in general, and having to erase or move them a little bit by adding more pencil to them isn't going to overtake the drawing itself. Now, you always want to make sure you establish a dark area of your drawing to help you sort of establish and gauge where your midtones are going to be. So if you have a darkest dark and a lightest light, you know where everything else is in relation to that. So I like to establish the base of my drawing first with a good underdrawing, and then quickly establish my darkest dark, that being the center of the eye and right under the eyelid in that area. So now that we've moved beyond the darkest dark and the lightest light, we want to add in a little bit of shadow. So we have those shadows that are coming in underneath here, and along the outside of the eye, one of the things that you'll find a lot is to give yourself like a nice generic eye. This is basically a generic eye. It's not like a person's eye. You want to have a dark outside and then sort of a lighter tone on the inside. And it won't become super shaped, I can say. Um, you can see it right here. So, so now moving forward, what we're doing is we want to make sure that we're focusing on giving the eye depth overall. And a lot of the times, a challenging space when it comes to making eyes is finding out where exactly the eye is in relationship to the eyelids. If you don't give yourself a solid definition of that eyelid, even the bags of the eyes or where the upper eye is, sort of that brow mark, that's going to make it really hard to imagine and place in that depth of the eye being recessed underneath those. So what we're doing, or what I'm doing right now as I'm focusing in here, is I'm using the cross-hatching technique, which I do go over in the blog post. And this is a quick and easy technique to add in darker darks. So looking at my reference, I realized that's the second darkest face, so I wanted to add in those. One of the great parts about the Ticonderoga eraser is it is soft so that you're not scratching your paper, but it is hard enough so that you can still keep detailed work and erase those areas from it. So what I did here was the eyelid on the bottom actually is more so just a highlight across the bottom as opposed to a line like I had. So I erased that line to give myself that highlighted area and make it a little bit more believable. Giving yourself highlights, giving yourself shadows, that's what really makes a drawing more physical space, or gives it more physical space, makes it more representational. The more small details you add, the closer you can get to what's called hyperrealism. And that's an area where you're basically reproducing photos, except almost more real than a photo would be. It's like when you get those super high definition TVs and you can see the pores on people's faces. That's what you can do with drawings. Um, so now adding this little bit of shadow underneath that really makes that eyelid pop over where the eye is, because you can see the shadows going around it, and utilizing the shadows above really makes it so that it's giving that space and that distance from one another. Filling in this area right in here and making sure that the inside of the eye, the part that's closest towards the nose, gets a little bit more shadow than the part on the outside. That's going to give the mind and the viewer the understanding that it's sort of recessing in, or that it is recessing in to that dark area of the face, that inner part where everything becomes relatively deep in relation to a face and in relation to the eye itself. So here we are. I hope you guys liked this video. It was a little quick. I may do a longer one somewhere else, but let me know if you liked it. If I need to clarify anything else, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe. That would all be really helpful. I will see you guys in the next one where I draw my eye and a little bit slower and a little bit longer. Bye.